It's the MasterChef Back to Win grand finale.
Tonight is your last chance to prove that you deserve the grand prize.
And now, Boston, the taste test. Let's see if you can redeem yourself from the last MasterChef finals. Really went all in on the brown parsley. Whole bottle, nothing left, I see, huh? But now this year, I don't hate it. It's something different. Smart. I see you took out the apple turnovers and sprinkled in some holiday zest instead, and something foreign in there too. I'd recognize that pingus anywhere. Excellent addition to pair with the white puree. Obviously, you keep getting better and better year in and year out with the smoked Tatum as the main dish. Boston, I think you got what it takes to be the next level chef for this year and many years to come. Yes, I just did a whole skit of me pretending to taste a male basketball team. So before anyone says anything, pause. But I do genuinely think that the Boston Celtics have enough talent on their roster to rattle off up to 3 rings in a row, giving them a chance to be the NBA's next dynasty. But time out. First and foremost, what makes a dynasty? I mean, there's no flat out distinct definition on the internet anywhere. You got some people calling the 2011-2014 Miami Heat a dynasty, and you got others calling the dominant Golden State Warriors not a dynasty. I'm sorry, Bill Simmons. They definitely are. Get your silly ass out of here.
You can't call it a dynasty, but it's definitely the weirdest run I think we've had.
Why can't you call it a dynasty?
Because it's just not.
So here's my definition. A core of dudes that are a part of the same organization that have won at least 3 championships in the span of, let's say, around a decade. So the 6 teams that would be included is the 2015-22 Golden State Warriors, the 99-14 San Antonio Spurs, the 2000-2002 Los Angeles Lakers, the 91-98 Chicago Bulls, the 1980-88 Lakers, and the 81-86 Boston Celtics. I'm sorry, Bill Russell and Red Auerbach. You guys are definitely a dynasty, but there's just not enough film of you guys for me to include you and the fellas. I mean, look at this fucking potato grainy quality. What am I supposed to do with this? But I think this 23-24 Boston Celtics team has enough similarities as these previously mentioned teams to go ahead and make themselves a run at having their 3rd franchise dynasty in league history and become the league's next biggest winner.
You are a winner.
Speaking of winners, you can make yourself one today when you go to BetUS. With the season company having its 30th year anniversary, they're continuing their offer of giving you a free $25 off a $100 deposit when you use the link in my description below. Help your boy out directly by using the link, explore all the options that the site gives you, and remember, gamble responsibly. But how would I describe the modern day Boston Celtics? Well, they got a top 5 player in the league in Jayson Tatum, an all-NBA second team teammate in Jaylen Brown, a perennial all-star 3rd option in Kristaps Porzingis, hard-nosed veteran role players in Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Al Horford, a top 10 offensive and defensive rating in the league. They have the heartache that is necessary of getting so close to the end, you learn what the little extra oomph is to get over the hump, and most importantly, luck. Not to mention that if Boston does have a chance of excellence on their hands, their core 3 of Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Kristaps Porzingis all have contracts that last at least till 2026. Meaning that if they win this year, they have a chance to rattle off 2 more in a row, maybe, give Drew and White a convincing argument to take a pay cut on that 3rd year in order to complete the almighty three-peat. So let us compare. With the most recent iteration of a dynasty that was, yes, I'm out on them now, was the Golden State Warriors from 15 to 22. In every single championship year, they were at least 1st or 2nd in offensive or defensive rating, usually being a combination of both. They're known to have some pretty good players during this time too. That guy, MVP Steph Curry, former MVP Kevin Durant, all NBA talent and Klay Thompson, Defensive Player of the Year Draymond Green, K-pop legend Andrew Wiggins, and Finals MVP Andre.
Fate of the universe on the line, or the Martians have the death beam pointed at Earth. You better hit it. I want Iguodala.
They even got the veteran presence of dudes like Leonardo Barbosa, Sean Livingston, JaVale McGee, Maurice Spates, Andrew Bogut, Matt Barnes, David West, and so many other vital pieces. They also had their share of heartbreak, as they had gotten handled by the San Antonio Spurs 2 years before their first chip and barely gotten knocked out by the CP3-led Clippers in the first round the year after. Depth, skill, heartache. Looks pretty damn similar to our Celtics, right? If that's not enough for you, let's look at our next dynasty, the San Antonio Spurs. Now, I'm sure we're not confused at all about the best player part or the role player aspect about the San Antonio Spurs, right? A top 10 all-timer in Tim Duncan, the former MVP David Robinson, Finals MVP Tony, Mr. Steal Your Wife Parker, other Finals MVP, Mr. Sixth Man of the Year Manu Ginobili, Dirty Man Bruce Bowen, Boris Diaw, Danny Green, Sean Elliott, Robert Horry, and more. While this team has absolutely sustained heartache, maybe not as much as some of the other teams in terms of bad losses, but Coach Pop was the definition of a hard ass and made sure those guys felt some type of heartache in every single practice. This franchise sustained excellence throughout the late 90s, the entirety of the 2000s, and the early to mid 2010s off pretty good offense, almost always top 10, but never below second in terms of defensive rating. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, defense wins championships. Okay, well, kind of ironic considering this next team finished 21st in defensive rating during one of their championship years, but they had fucking Kobe and Shaq. Exceptions are made. But this team in every other way follows the Dynasty formula, finishing top 10 in both offensive and defensive rating the other years, having two top 12 all-time players in Shaq and Kobe, getting bent over and paddled by the Jazz like a 70s school principal 2 years before their first championship, then outbigged by the Spurs in the first round the year after, lighting the fire that they needed to get over the hump, all this while being surrounded by role players like the underrated Derek Fisher, Robert Horry, good to see you again, Big Shot Bob, Glenn Rice, Rick Fox, Horace Grant, and Isaiah Ryder. Even when we go back to 30 years ago, in the 90s, arguably the best team to ever be assembled with the best player ever, this same formula still stands. Being a solidified top 10 rated offense and defense, having that one guy who sells those sneakers, right? The multiple all-NBA selection Scottie Pippen, former defensive player of the year in Dennis Rodman, prime Horace Grant, damn, Horace was a real deal winner, but European legend Tony Kukoc, Steve Kerr, Ron Harper, BJ Armstrong, John Paxson, Stacey King. I might be losing some of the youngins around this time of the video, but the OGs know these guys were some hoopers. And if anyone knows about losing over and over to learn what it takes to get past the finish line, I mean, you know Jordan was one of them, being criticized as a guy who was the quote-unquote not winning type, losing to the Bucks, Celtics, and the Pistons over and over and over. Yeah, the guy who has 6 Finals MVPs was questioned if he was the winning type. Now with the 80s Celtics and Lakers, the offensive and defensive ratings aren't as accurate with there being less teams in the league. But even 40 years ago, you need all-timers like Larry and Magic, all-time help like Kareem, Worthy, Parrish, and McHale. The others, as Shaq likes to say, like Danny Ainge, Byron Scott, AC Green, Dennis Johnson, Bill Walton, yada, yada, yada. I think you get the formula by now. But hear me out, ladies and gentlemen. I think the modern-day Celtics fit this mold pretty damn well. And the eye test is telling me the same thing. Everyone can shoot threes, everyone can put the ball on the ground, they have stoppers like Drew, White, and the Dominican Demon and Al, and some bucket getters when the times get tough like Tatum and Brown. But the wins column does it for me at the moment, considering we've seen this team only lose 7 out of 34 games, having the best record in the entire league, and recently already making it to the finals? And maybe the most important thing about it all, they haven't suffered from any bad injuries so far. I mean, knock on wood. Which means, do the Celtics have the luck factor on their side? I think I'm taking the team from New England to at least win it all this year with all those things considered. But what do you think, Dash and Hoopers? Do you think this team has any missing holes? Is it a too good to be true situation? Do you think that the 1-2 punch of the Bucks is too much to handle? Will Miami continue to be their kryptonite? Or will the Nuggets team ball prove to be too much in the finals for them? You let me know down in the comments below, ladies and gentlemen. And as always, have a phenomenal rest of your day.